Good evening, everyone. Council and Joy, would you please call the roll?
Flournoy.
Here.
Hallie.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Revelinsky.
Yes.
Rasmussen.
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Hamilton.
Present.
Thank you. Any additions, Council, to this evening's agenda? Okay. Now we'll move to our consent agenda. We have multiple items there. Approval of minutes of the July 24th council meeting. We have acceptance of beautification minutes from May 5th and June 21st. Approval of payroll from July 28th in the amount of $130,921.60, and approval of the August 11th payroll, $130,984.74. You have your July finance report for approval, a resolution for the employment of a new officer, Ryan Mills, who we will meet at a later meeting. Also, a resolution of employment for new city clerk, and that is Rebecca Loper. Approval of liquor license for the Asian Fa Bistro, Casey's General Store, and Amore Mio. And claims in the amount of $1,139,138.59, of which $700,180.62 is to the Iowa Finance Authority, which is repaying a bridge loan for work on step one. So, any questions regarding? Yes,
Yeah, is that
Tom.
claims amount? Is that the one we adjusted?
Oh, I'm sorry, I did
We
get
made
an
a change.
adjustment.
Yeah, we made an adjustment.
All right, the adjusted amount is $1,139,114.09. Thank you, Tom.
Okay.
So it's even.
Move approval.
Okay.
Second.
Moved by Thompson, second by Flournoy. Any discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Thompson.
Yes.
Flournoy.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Rasmussen.
Yes.
Hamilton.
Yes.
Hallie.
Yes.
Revelinsky.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Next, Council, will move to our public appearances, and our first this evening is Dawn Bechtel and Carrie Brownlee regarding Relay for Life. Come and join us at the podium, please.
Hello there.
Hi.
I'm Carrie Brownlee. Dawn's out of the country. She thought she needed to go to Japan to see her daughter. So we're asking to be able to use the city's parking lot just south of First National Bank, next to the Senior Citizen Center, for a citywide garage sale. That had been done in the past by the chamber, but we've kind of taken it over as a fundraiser for the relay. And it will be on August 14th. Nope, sorry, that's today. September 16th is the scheduled date, with a rain date of September 30th.
Okay, thank you. Does that line up with Kids Day?
That is Kids Day.
Okay.
And tickets are on sale right now.
No, I think it's wise, that was the date that the citywide garage sale was held as well in the past, so there'll be some connection.
Yes.
Good to see that get back into use for a good cause. Council, entertain a motion to approve the request.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Anderson, second by Hallie. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, the same sign. Okay, thank you, Carrie.
Thank you.
Next, we have a presentation by John Miller. John here.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen,
Good evening.
Mayor and audience. My question has to do with the traffic on the south side of the city. We recently, 2 years ago, purchased a home on 106 West Fillmore, and so we've been driving a lot of those streets since then that we had never driven previously. From the west of Main Street, 2nd through 7th or so, we noticed that a lot of those streets, maybe all of them, are narrower south of Burlington than they seem to be on the north side of Burlington. So it becomes a bit of a traffic challenge when northbound, southbound traffic meet each other if there are parked vehicles, which are only allowed usually on the one side, the west side of the street, for example. I spoke with the police office regarding that and was told that the northbound vehicles would have the right-of-way if there were cars parked on the west side. occasionally, and I should say for the most part, that is acknowledged pretty much by the traffic, people driving. If those going north encounter parked vehicle, they proceed. Usually the southbound traffic will wait. Other times the southbound traffic has the apparent thought that they have the right of way and get into the middle of the road and block the northbound traffic from proceeding. So, resulting sometimes in horns or whatever to alert the southbound traffic that may not be the best course. So I thought, is there any other option? Of course, nothing might need to be done if it has not been a problem as far as traffic accidents. Maybe you all know that. I don't really know that. And certainly to widen the road, the boulevards are very wide there, but to widen the road would be probably hundreds of thousands of dollars. I don't imagine that the money is lying around for that project. So as an alternative that's not so pricey, I wanted the council to consider where the road does narrow, apparently within the first block or so south of Burlington, that on some of those north-south numbered streets, signage could be erected that says simply northbound traffic has right-of-way or something similar. I've not priced these signs. My guess is that to have the sign made and erected might be $100 per sign. I'm not really sure. So that would be probably the best suggestion, but welcome to have people comment on it and come up with alternatives. Or, as I said, that may not be a serious problem. There may have never been traffic accidents there. So we may not need to do anything, but it seemed like this would be a way to alert the traffic that, oh, the lane where there is no vehicle parked has a right of way, and so I should yield if I'm in the other lane, whatever.
Well, thank you. We appreciate you bringing it to our attention. Chief, let's talk about traffic accidents. I mean, I think we all understand the bottleneck that can occur there and the dance that takes place with the right-of-way. Are there accidents that you think are a little bit more so caused by that parking situation?
Usually it's just the honking horns. I don't think we've had a lot of accidents. More of the accidents on the south side are intersection related,
Yeah.
statistically speaking. And because it's such an easy view to see if a vehicle does have the right of way and the car still goes out around a parked vehicle, Iowa drivers are usually nice enough to go ahead and stop and not honk the horn and let them. So we do not see a lot of accidents because of that. No, sir.
Okay, thank you. Council, anyone feel a need to review this, or public safety to take a look at that? My question also is signage. I'm not sure everybody understands the sign when they read it. It's a little out of character, and sort of thinking about thinking about right of way when you have traffic approaching. But
the parking isn't always on one side or the other on a longer street like that, like 4th Street. Heading south on 4th Street from Burlington, traffic is parked on one side for a couple of blocks, and then it's over on the opposite side for a couple of blocks, and then back again. And I drive that street daily, and I know how people maneuver through there. To say that traffic going north on that particular street would always have the right-of-way through there is kind of a misnomer. It really isn't. It should be the traffic that has no parking on that side of the street that has the right-of-way. So in this block, it could be the northbound traffic. In the next block, it could be the southbound traffic.
I wasn't aware that it switched.
And yeah, that's
That's
kind
a-
of how it's taught in driver's education, but a lot of people look like me. It's been a long time since driver's education, but I've been in transportation for a long, long time, and I've never heard of a sign where it would tell traffic who has the right of way. Unless you're getting to a roundabout intersection or you're getting to an uncontrolled type intersection, that kind of thing. So
Yeah,
I don't know as to whether you
Yeah,
really have
the
a
other thing
problem.
too is that having driven the streets for many, many years also and experienced exactly what it is that you're describing, something charming about it too. We all have to be neighborly in terms of, navigating our neighborhoods, in traffic, and sometimes it's a little challenge, and seems to work out. But I think that's the spirit that most people take it. I mean, we understand that concentrated area around the square really represents the oldest parts of our city as well. So that's why streets are narrower there. And you're absolutely correct. We can't afford to widen streets. And because the lots are smaller, most families have more than one car. The need for the on-street parking is there. So you put all of those ingredients into a mix, and you have to solve it in a neighborly way. I think so.
If I could mention one other thing.
Sure.
My wife said, please mention, as the police chief did, that some of the intersections have bushes near them
Yeah.
that are pretty overgrown, and it's extremely difficult. I mean, I've had to just look, 5-6 times to make sure that there is no oncoming traffic on the east-west streets. So if council has the ability to have some trimming down there, that might really be helpful.
Yeah, those are real concerns, and I know that our code enforcement officer, I think, has made some folks aware that they're,
Okay, good.
great. Okay, if we're not going to take any action, we'll move forward then. Thank you very much for bringing that to us. Appreciate it. Next, we move to our resolutions, action items, and ordinances. And the first, council, would be the approval of our city street finance report. And again, this is critical for our receiving road use tax funds. So Joy, if you would tell us what's in the report, please.
Yes, this is formerly called the road use tax report. They did change it to the city street financial report. It's required from the DOT in order for us to receive our road use tax funds each month. All it really is just confirming the money that we received and the money going out. That's all it really does. It goes to the DOT and Ames, so I just need approval. We do it every year.
Move by Flournoy to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Thompson. Any questions? I think the other thing I'd point out, Joy, is there was page, let's see, page 4, where it also did list our bonds, notes, and loan sheets. And as you know, we've had that one loan tied to street repair. Looks like we have, that was a total loan of 3.315 million. Due date is 2022. We're making good progress on that. So
Yep.
that may be a time when the city could do some borrowing for a major 2-year street project like we did at that time.
Right.
Any other discussion? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign.
I think I'm going to abstain on this because I work for the Department of Transportation.
Okay, abstention by Hamilton. Thank you, Darren. Next, council, we have the reconstruction of Adams Street and the award. Melanie.
All right, this project is on Adams Avenue from approximately the 600 block of Adams and the 700 block of East Adams. So that puts you up to Maple. And so bids were received last Thursday. 4 bids were received. The engineer's estimate was $135,000. Low bid was from Drish Construction of Fairfield, Iowa at $108,773.61. Second was from Wesley Barton Construction of Mount Pleasant at $118,540.53. Third was DeLong Construction of Washington, Iowa at $133,376.00. And the high bid was from Iowa Civil Contracting of Victor, Iowa at $176,762.94. As you can see, the low bid is below the engineer's estimate, and we've actually spoke with Drish about extending the pavement another, it's going to be about 70 feet. Adams Street is on the street 5-year plan. I think some of it next year or even the following year. So the more that we can get done with the budget, the better. And this part has been surveyed. So just with a little bit of additional design, we'll be able to add in about that 70 feet for around $14,000. Right now, all we're asking is for you to concur with the award to Drish Construction, and then we'll work on the change in the scope by changing the quantities. We won't actually do it as a change order, but we'll just increase the quantities of the pavement. But I thought I'd let you know that you're getting an extra 70 feet, and we'll be adding on to this project.
Okay, thank you, Melanie. First of all, we want to thank the 3 other companies that did bid the project. We appreciate everyone taking interest in our projects in the city. And any questions regarding the award?
Do you have any concerns about the difference between the engineer's estimate and the bid?
No. The bids have been really tight. A lot of the projects that we have had quotes for, they've been really tight, and I think the low bid was eager to get this work, especially being in town, and they didn't want to lose it. I believe the last one they lost by like $78, and they made a comment to me actually this afternoon about that they didn't want to lose it by $78 this time. So I think they're just looking to stay in town, and we appreciate the local contractors doing that.
Yes, we do. Okay, entertain a motion to approve the bid.
We award the contract to Drish Construction.
Thank you.
Second.
Moved by Flournoy, second by Anderson. Any other discussion? If not, please call the roll.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes, yes.
Hallie,
Yes.
Revelinsky,
Yes.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Rasmussen.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mel. Okay, next, council, this is a resolution approving the financial support that we contribute every year to the Area 15 Regional Planning Commission. It is based on population, 46 cents per capita, so a total of $4,353.44 to receive the services of and participate with Area 15 Regional Planning.
That must be based off of the 2010
Yeah,
census.
yeah,
Okay.
that's a good thing.
Well, I hear that we went up and this number doesn't reflect that.
Yeah, well, if you go on the U.S. Census site, their 2016 numbers show Fairfield population at 10,206, but they must just use
write
their
the-
last decade. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions, council? Entertain a motion to approve the resolution.
Move to approve.
Moved by Hamilton,
Second.
second by Rasmussen. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign. Okay, thank you. Next, council, I think we're going to make our award official for the bid package of treatment of the treatment facility. And with us this evening is Alex from McClure Engineering. Alex, good evening.
Yep. So I think you guys remember I was here a couple weeks ago at the last meeting to
Yes.
read the bids off for bid package 1, which is the treatment facilities improvements project. The low bidder was PKG Contracting out of Fargo, North Dakota. Their bid was $21 million for $546,900. It's our recommendation that the council would move forward and officially award the contract to PKG.
Okay.
So moved.
Moved by Flournoy to approve the award.
Second.
Second by Hamilton. Any discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Rasmussen,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Revelinsky,
Yes.
Hallie.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. And then our next item of business.
Yep. So this is, I think, approving the construction contract and the bonds. We received all the contract documents from PKG late last week. We reviewed them. They looked to be in accordance with our specifications. And then my understanding is that the City Bond Council has also reviewed them and came to that same concurrence. So with that in mind, we would recommend approving the contract documents and the bond for PKG contracting.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Anderson, second by Flournoy. Discussion? Not, please call the roll.
Anderson,
Yes.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Revelinsky,
Yes.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Hallie,
Yes.
Rasmussen,
Yes.
Thompson.
Yes.
Great. Alex, thank you very much. I think we have you later on, but we've got another action item ahead of you. Okay, next, council, we have the approval of the completion of the addition to Step 1 sanitary sewer improvement. Steve Hausner with French Renekers here.
Good evening. So this is a certificate of substantial completion that I've signed and authorized. What it does is basically it's for the Step 1 addition project. So the Step 1 that was primarily all south of Fillmore. This one started just south of Fillmore, went up through the golf course and ends several hundred feet west of D Street. The golf course section itself has been finalized, and as a matter of fact, the entire project would be done had it had rained in the last 2 months. But unfortunately, the contractor is going to have to come back and do some reseeding.
Yeah.
So that's the only work that remains. All of the testing is done. Everything's passed.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions for Steve, council?
This new leg crossed on the south side of the golf course is flowing down to the plant right now. It doesn't go through the other portion of Step 1 that goes from the plant north because that isn't connected into the system, correct?
No, actually, and again, I jumped into this project right at the tail end. I don't believe it is in service yet. It is ready to be put in service.
It's dry pipe.
Okay.
Once they come back, the contractors actually mobilize and connect that portion right by Yuskevich's place, and then the pipe will be active once the plant's active.
Once the plant's.
Yeah, once the
Right.
plant's
Okay.
active.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Sorry, Mayor.
No,
Just
that's
jumped
fine.
in.
Thank you.
No,
Yep.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yep.
So to entertain a motion to approve the substantial completion of Step 1 sanitary sewer improvements.
So moved.
Moved by Flournoy,
Second.
second by Hamilton. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign. Okay. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
Next, council, we have Environmental Protection Agency order for, it's our consent. And I think we have some good news to share this evening, and Melanie and Alex will explain it to us.
Yes. Well, I'm going to give you some background as to how we got here today. That way, so you can fully appreciate how good of news this is. So back in 2008, the city received an administrative consent order from the Iowa DNR to remove the SSOs in the sanitary sewer system. In response, then the city brought McClure on and developed the phased approach that we call Phase 1, or Step 1, Step 2, the plant, this nice colored map. That was in response to the original consent order. That plan that was put together by McClure and approved by the city had the city removing 75 to 80% of the sanitary sewer overflows by 2020 and fully removing them by 2030. The city has been working towards this goal. Step 1, we just accepted the addition to Step 1, building the plant, making great progress. But also the city crews have been doing extensive work on the west side of the sewer system, and Alex will talk about how that's impacted this schedule. So then supposedly through a random selection, the city wastewater treatment facility was inspected by the EPA in January 2017. Your government lesson for tonight is that the EPA is the federal agency tasked with implementing the Clean Water Act. They pass that task on to the DNR, but everything they do trumps what the DNR does. So this is good news once we get there. Like I said, you have to fully understand to enjoy how good of a news this is. So with that being said, after the inspection in 2017, EPA issued their own consent order or administrative order. And over the last 3 months, the city, along with McClure, has been negotiating this schedule. So I'm going to let Alex talk about the schedule. And Jason, if you want to go to the second to last page on that consent order, that has the schedule.
Yeah, so as Melanie touched on, we've been negotiating with EPA for the past couple months here, trying to get them kind of up to speed on all the work the city's been doing over the past several years on the sewer and wastewater treatment plant side of things, trying to help them appreciate the challenges that we've had in getting some of the projects off the ground, partly land acquisition, funding source delays, all those sorts of things that just kind of happen over the course of a big project like this. So what we did is we proposed a schedule for these improvements for them. So we broke the step approach or the step program up into 5 steps now, actually. The step 1 consists of the trunk sewer improvements, the main interceptor sewer down to the plant, as well as all of the wastewater plant improvements, including the flow equalization basin. Step 2A is the trunk sewer improvements through the golf course that Steve just touched on. Step 2B is the trunk sewer improvements through the east side of the system. And then steps 3 and 4 relate to improvements on the west side of town, the Grease Lightning lift station and the west side interceptor sewer. And what we talked with EPA to do was to get them to agree that we should, prior to designing any of the step 3 improvements, that we should do a secondary flow monitoring study in the system once the wastewater treatment plant infrastructure is in place, that being the influent pump station and the flow equalization basin, so that we've connected all the new sewers the city has invested in and built over the past several years and will continue to build kind of through our projects, so that we can really test not only the infrastructure improvements that we've made in the STEP program, but also all the work the city crews have been doing to remove SSOs up in the system. I know that Melanie kind of has a map here, but I know the city's been working really hard, especially on the west side of the system. Her map on these purple lines, the big X's show sanitary sewer overflows that EPA has identified and the city has removed through various projects. I think some of those projects were like sanitary sewer lining projects. There were, I think, a broken pipe that crossed a stream that they fixed in a separate project. And recently, Melanie just told me that they found a field tile line that was tied into the sanitary sewer. And although that project has not been implemented yet, it's hopeful that that will be fixed soon. So with all that said, the goal is to do a secondary flow monitoring study, which this schedule lays out for spring of 2019. That schedule is contingent on PKG, the wastewater plant contractor, being able to construct the influent pumping building, which has the big stormwater pumps that will pump excess sewage and stormwater up to the new flow equalization basin. So we're hopeful that that'll be done in the spring of 2019. But if it doesn't, we have enough flexibility in this schedule to complete that in 2020 when all of the work should be done at the wastewater plant. So the purpose of this study is to basically right-size the improvements on the west side of town. We've got big numbers programmed for what the improvements could be based on our original study, but spending a little bit of money to do the secondary flow monitoring study, it's our hope, and we're pretty confident that although we may not be able to eliminate the west side projects entirely, we'll at least be able to right-size the scope and save some dollars so that we're building a system that's efficient for what's been done, that still has the desired effect of reducing all of the sanitary sewer overflows. And I guess the last part of the whole schedule is the final completion date. So we have step 4 improvements, which would be the west interceptor trunk sewer. We hope to get those done in 2027. Then lastly, some additional sanitary sewer rehabilitation, which, like I said, the city's been doing a lot of in-house over the past couple of years, but we'll have a separate project or actually two separate projects that will ultimately be completed in 2032. So at the end of the day, what we ended up doing by negotiating with EPA was to add 10 more years onto the city's compliance schedule.
That's the good news.
Yep. Yeah.
No pressure for 10 years. Yeah. That's great news. Thank you very much. And I know that the impression on your map, Melanie, those SSOs that were eliminated were a big part of the reason why I think they saw enough progress to allow us. So that's
We're very happy and
good work.
Yeah, it's been great working with EPA so far. They've been helpful in the process.
Yeah, they
so.
have.
Okay.
So I guess with that, we recommend.
Mike, go ahead.
I guess it was the actual-
Authorizing the
Author-
mayor to sign it, I believe.
Yep.
Mike, did you have a comment?
Mayor, if
Sure.
I could just make one point.
Absolutely.
If we recall what Travis had told us last week, that we have rates in place today sufficient to build step 2. What Melanie and Alex are saying tonight, it's possible we won't have to build step 3 and step 4. So we could have today rates in place that won't go any higher except for inflationary adjustments. In other words, we won't have to look at these 5, 10, 7, 8% rate increases going down the road if we can eliminate the water coming into our system and reduce step 3 and step 4 or not even build them at all. That's a possibility, which is very exciting for us.
Great. Thanks, Mike. That would be terrific. So let's hope that it continues that way. Okay, so let's see. So again, it would be accepting the Environmental Protection Agency order for compliance and consent that allows for this extended time period. So entertain a motion to approve that extension.
So moved.
Moved by Flournoy.
Second.
Second by Revelinsky. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign. Great, thank you very much. Okay. Next, we have an authorizing services agreement for the USDA Rural Development Water and Waste Disposal Grant and the EPA report with Pathfinders. Mike, take that.
Mayor. So as we mentioned, we are ready to start our application to USDA for step 2. We have hired Pathfinders for the application for the wastewater treatment plant and step 1, and it's worked very well for the city. We'd like to continue that path and recommend hiring Pathfinders to complete the application for step 2 and also the environmental assessment work needed for step 2. So the agreement in front of you is basically a not to exceed contract for $10,000 plus any reimbursable expenses that Pathfinders may have along the way. So we'd recommend your consideration of this contract.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Obviously, we all understand that Pathfinders is great work in grant writing and is a big help to us thus far. So entertain a motion to approve the services agreement.
So moved.
Moved by Flournoy,
Second.
second by Rasmussen. Please call the roll.
Flournoy,
Yes.
Rasmussen,
Yes.
Revelinsky,
Yes.
Hamilton,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Thompson,
Yes.
Hallie.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Just a quick question.
Yes.
Are these competitive grants, or are these, if you cross the T's, dot the I's, you're likely to get them?
Yes.
They're competitive?
They're very competitive. And then at a certain point, they go competitive nationwide. So they're dollars allocated to Iowa, and they're also competitive dollars nationwide. We receive nationwide dollars, grant funds on the treatment plant. We received Iowa dollars on step 1. So that is a very competitive grant program.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, council, we have an architectural services agreement. Melanie, can you give us some background on the project itself?
Yes. So part of the USDA funding stipulations is that you bring City Hall into ADA compliant within 3 years of finishing the Step 1 project. As you know, the Step 1 bids came in very well, and so we added the section through the Fairfield Golf and Country Club, and those bids came in well also, and so there is a little bit of funds left over from that program that can be used towards this ADA compliance, which is why we are moving on it now rather than waiting a little bit. So the total project includes updating the bathrooms with automatic features, and also allowing then the turning radiuses for ADA accessibility within the bathrooms. You also know the hallway to the bathrooms is narrow, so it would be doing a lot of work in that area. We're also proposing some improvements to the front facade so that there's the proper turning radius to get into City Hall. Then there is not a service station out front with the billing clerks that could handle either a handicap patron or an employee of City Hall. So we're going to be lowering one of those stations down to a height that someone could pull up to. And then we also have the council bench that requires a step to get up to it. So we're proposing putting a ramp in here, likely needing to replace some of the carpet as well to get up here. And then we have the employee entrances require a keyed entrance that someone who is handicapped could not reach that keyed entrance, let alone pull the door open and get themselves to. So there's a lot of different pieces to this project, but again, with the funding left over from the sewer project, we're able to do this with that funds rather than other city funds down the road. I will admit that I am fully capable of doing a ADA accessible bathroom, but I'm afraid you don't want it to look like a bathroom out at the wastewater treatment plant. So we have spoken with Holly Butler, HDLB Architecture, to provide the design of all of these various projects. Holly and I will be working together on the bidding as well as during the construction in order to minimize her costs as well as and utilize my position, but yet we'll have a nicer looking entryway than what maybe I could do. So I'm going to let Holly talk about her contract as well as her experience in this type of work.
Thank you, Ellen. Hello, Holly.
Hi, I'm Holly Butler. I'm the owner of HDLB Architecture and Design, and I'm a licensed architect in the state of Iowa. My experience, I've run HDLB for a couple of years now, mostly specialized in residential architecture. I do a lot of very energy efficient homes, and I also do some small commercial projects. I just did the Restore Edition for Habitat for Humanity here in town. My previous experience before that, I was the construction manager for the local Habitat for Humanity for 7 years. Worked with several of you in that capacity. And before that, I worked for Prairie Architects since 2004. Kind of a similar project to this that I did with Prairie Architects was the American Gothic House Welcome Center in Eldon. That used Department of Transportation funding, and it was similar to the USDA funding in terms of their specification requirements and their review of construction documents, that kind of thing. They review ADA, they review building codes. It's a very similar process. Their specification requirements are similar, so very straightforward project. I think it'll go very well, very smoothly, and probably won't take all that long. So I look forward to working with you all for it.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mike, do you have anything to add to the renovations or any?
Just I guess one comment. There's $326,000 in grant funds available. Holly's estimate for the work is around $200,000. That's just a general idea of what is staring us in the face out there for City Hall. All covered by grant funds.
Okay. Very good.
Mayor, one thing I would like to mention, and it's described in her contract. The bathrooms have had multiple renovations, and therefore there are multiple holes in the floor that have been patched. When we actually looked at the concrete floor, raised a little bit of a red flag with Holly. So we are going to bring on, and I'm drawing a book, thank you, Klingner Associates, to do a structural analysis, not analysis, but review of the floor to make sure that additional holes are not going to cause some problems. I believe they're going to do a little bit of testing, but their budget is $700 to do that review and then determine if there's a larger issue or if we can simply proceed with the project.
Thank you. Tom, did you have a point?
Nothing pertinent.
Okay. All right. So then your action council would be to authorize the services, the architectural services of Holly Butler's HDLB Architecture and Design.
So moved.
Moved by Hallie,
Second.
second by Flournoy. Any discussion? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign. Thank you, Holly. What's your timeline for some of the design work?
I can begin the project beginning of September, and I would say a couple of months for construction documents, and then Melanie is going to be in charge of doing the bidding documents and the contracts, and I will be helping out with getting the state code inspections done. And then once we start construction phase, Melanie will be doing most of the day-to-day oversight of on-site construction, and I will be reviewing submittals and answering questions that she asks for help on.
I really don't want to have the front vestibule work happening in that February, March time. One, I don't want to freeze out the billing clerks, but
Yes.
also just the chances of any buildup of ice in that area during construction. But perhaps the indoor stuff could be done during that time, and we'll do the vestibule stuff later in the spring.
Yeah, I imagine we could do the interior work, late winter, and then the exterior entryway into better weather.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
This council, we have consideration of a change order authority given to our city engineer. And Mike, I'll ask you to give an explanation to the council what we're asking for.
Sure, thank you, Mayor. As you remember, Council, during the Cambridge Sportsplex construction project, you authorized the city administrator for $15,000 of change order authority just to help the construction process move along as things may or may not arise. In the absence of an administrator, I would ask you to consider to do the same thing with our city engineer. Give $15,000 of construction change order authority for the EQ basin and the wastewater treatment facility.
Is that high enough? I mean, with the idea
the-
of the construction costs, I
Quite
mean,
frankly, it's low. We researched, actually Melanie researched a number of other cities, and they were around 1 to 5% of the project. This is a very low number, but yet it was a number that Melanie felt comfortable with at this point in time.
okay.
Move approval.
Second.
Moved by Flournoy, second by Anderson to approve the change order authority to our city engineer. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign. Thank you. Next, ask our city attorney to come up. We have consideration of an easement acquisition at 2111 Libertyville Road.
The dominoes are falling. This is 2 lots. These are the Jeffries. And literally, we just have one temporary easement on the south side of the road we need right now, which looks hopeful. And then we have a holdout on the north side of the road, but that's out of 27 locations. So feeling pretty good about that. At one time, it looked like we might have to do maybe 8 to 10 eminent domains. So these have been done under threat of eminent domain, so the people get a certain tax treatment. But as far as the reasonableness of the people down there, they've all been willing to work pretty much, except for that last one permanent easement holdout, and the temporary I don't think is going to hold out. So this is an important step to approve as far as the 2 lots. Since I met with you in closed session last, I offered these folks about $200 more than you'd authorized me to on each of the lots. And we did have some discussion and actually a meeting with our city engineer to resolve some questions about a couple of things in the yards behind these 2 lots of the Jeffries. And also the Jeffries had asked, since they weren't going to connect to the system at this point in time, if a procedure that was talked over with Melanie and with the city administrator and myself, wherein they're going to change the elevation of the septic tank they have to facilitate better drainage in their basement restroom, I guess I'd put it that way. We could see nothing wrong with that as far as that upgrade in a compliant system being consistent with what DNR expects. So essentially at this point, the one easement document and the one revised purchase agreement that's attached to this combines both of these lots in one resolution. And our letter of conditions is the similar letter that you've seen on several of these in the last 4 or 5 months of council meetings approving these acquisitions. So again, I recommend this for approval. If you have any questions.
Well, based on your excitement, I think I'd entertain a motion to approve.
I would move to
Tell you what I'm really excited about is 10 years ago, when Ken Gehring, you all remember our
Sure.
old friend and engineer at wastewater back then, we pulled teeth for over a year with Assistant Attorney General named Susan and a bunch of DNR people about avoidance of $10,000 a day fines for the sledgehammer that the DNR had over us for the SOSs.
Right.
Now, as Melanie says, EPA trumps, but we've been there and done that, and this is awful good news because they put us out an extra 5 years on the 10 and 15-year plan of Ken Gehring's, but this is much better to have that thing held in abeyance all the way to 2032. So congratulations and nice work.
Okay. Thank you, John. Appreciate it. So we have a motion and a second?
I move that
Yeah, so we have a
accept it,
motion
yes.
by Hamilton, yes. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Thompson. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign. Okay, thank you. Next, we have consideration of no parking and the removal of a parking space, 2 issues that came out of the Public Safety Committee. Katie, would you give us some background on these, please?
So we had it brought up to public safety at our meeting on August 2nd that over on the north side of Broadway, kind of over in the high school corner of town, there's a street that does just what you were talking about earlier, park on this side, park on that side, park on this side, and is actually impassable when cars are parked. You can't fit 3 cars across there. And so we had a resident that travels that street on a regular basis ask us to move parking to one side so that there is, an obvious direction of go.
path.
And it seemed very obvious to public safety that that would be in the best interest of people traveling that street. So it is our recommendation to the council that we move no parking to one side on Morgan.
Which is the west side.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Any questions or any discussion?
Sure.
Okay. Then entertain, so
No.
that would be a
I'm not
motion to
sure.
approve, Katie?
Yes. So
Okay,
moved.
move to approve the no parking, I'm sorry, it's no parking on the west side of North
So
Morgan, so it would be
the
moved to
parking is on
east
the
side.
east, right?
Okay,
Second.
and that would be from Broadway Avenue to Hempstead Avenue. Okay. Second by Flournoy. Any discussion? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign. Okay. Motion passes. And then your next item.
The next item is much to our chagrin. We're excited that we actually have a homeowner who wants to take their car off the street and put a driveway in and park off street. So just behind City Hall here, we have a homeowner who would like to put in a driveway, officially cut curb, and put in the proper permits through the city. In doing so, based on where the driveway will enter the property, we will lose 2 parking spots on the street. And so, again, we're just running it before council to make sure, okay, again, we love to see cars off the street. And so we were extremely excited to tell her she has our blessing to move forward as a committee. So
This would be the house on the corner back over here.
the great big white
The
house.
great big white
Yep.
house, and the garage would be in the backyard coming off of,
There's no speak of a garage, just a driveway entering in off of Broadway. So
And it would be entering north.
you would drive north into the driveway.
Okay.
Yes.
I guess I'm
On
not,
Off of Washington.
Off of Washington.
guess I'm not
Just a
parking there
parking
anymore.
Broadway.
I know. Me
Is
neither.
there one spot, Katie, or 2?
2 spots are going to be impacted because of where the curb's going to have to be cut.
Okay.
but it'll allow enough parking for 2 off-street that probably would have been parking in the
I'm going to
2
defer to
parallel.
Daryl because the way the parking spaces are set out, like there's 2 and then there's a no parking and then there's 2. Daryl?
There will be actually 3 left. There's 4 there now. There's
Oh.
33 left, we just have to do some reconfiguration.
We have to do some removing.
One spot.
One
Yeah.
spot. Well, one
So
spot
two are
would
gonna be
eliminated.
impacted, but those two are gonna turn into one.
Push.
So is a motion needed there?
Yes.
All right, I would move that we approve the removal of the parking spot.
Okay.
Second.
Moved by Anderson, second by Flournoy. Any other discussion? Not all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign? Okay, thank you. Next, council, in the mayor's report, I listed the job description particularly in the municipal code for city administrator. Our consultant, Pat Callahan, asked us to review that prior to going into this process, see if there was anything that we wanted to amend or change itself in the ordinance. I reviewed it myself. There are probably a few definitions that could be tweaked a little, but I didn't see anything really substantial. Are there any comments from the council about any desire to amend or change that at this time? It's pretty comprehensive in terms of duties and everything that's required. So if that's not the case, we don't need to take any action, but we will be moving forward with that record of what's required from the city administrator. So then we'll move to the committee and board reports, public safety and transportation.
We had a very full agenda when we met on the 2nd, and we actually have our next agenda already stacking up for us. So one of the items that was brought to us at that meeting was the use of ATVs on city streets. And Mr. Messerly is here tonight to answer questions, brought it before the committee. There's a desire to implement a similar ordinance that the county has in place allowing for use of ATVs and UTVs on city streets. Genuinely, it's coming from a good place in their heart to be able to get people around a little easier, safely and more efficiently remove snow and the times that we do have snow, quick trips, things like that. So after hearing the amount of research and the position that they're coming from, the committee felt that we would put it before council, see if there was any reason not to draft the ordinance and begin the process of putting it through 3 readings. So we're just looking for input from the council. If anyone has questions, I asked Mr. Mesterly to be here to answer them.
Okay.
Beyond ATVs and side-by-sides, those kind of vehicles were golf carts discussed. And are they intended to be included in this, or are they going to be excluded?
They were brought up, but I don't believe they are specifically mentioned in this ordinance for the county, because we're looking for the safety features that vehicles have, headlights, turning, and golf carts don't have some of those things.
Well, they do now.
They do now, yeah.
And also to be able to maintain a
A certain
reasonable
speed limit.
To keep up with traffic, so a golf cart wouldn't qualify for that.
Okay.
The ordinance we're looking at does not include them. If you'd like to see them included, then we would need to have the necessary research done on golf carts.
Well, I know a lot of cities have already done that. They've changed to where they allow golf carts, not ATVs or side-by-sides, commonly known as four-wheelers, to be out on the streets. Those range in engine sizes from the four-wheelers range in engine sizes from 125 all the way up to over 1,000 cc's, which are as big as any Harley motorcycle or Indian motorcycle or something like that. Golf carts in the locations that I know of can hit speeds of 25 mile an hour. And I believe they do restrict them in areas where speed limits are posted at higher. But a majority of our streets are 25 mile an hour. And the communities that do allow them also require that the golf carts have headlights, turn signals, brake lights, and a flag coming off of the backside of them, an orange flag. So I didn't know whether that was being considered or not, and whether there was any feeling towards that, because at one time people came to the council wanting to be able to drive their golf carts. At the time, Julie Harvey was our police chief, and she felt very strongly against vehicles like that being on the streets. You know, I know small communities like Birmingham and others allow ATVs, four-wheelers, side-by-sides on their city streets, but you're talking about a whole lot lower volume of traffic that goes on in communities like that. So I think there's a lot of things to be considered when you're talking about that in a community of over 10,000.
So I think it's completely fine for the Public Safety Committee to go ahead and have that discussion about the ordinance, and if there's a model ordinance that you like that you can draft, and it's at that point in time that we would have the public hearings. But Mr. Messerly, if there's something you'd like to say to the council tonight, you're welcome to for a minute or two. It's completely up to you. I'm not putting you on the spot. I'm just saying we don't have a scheduled public hearing, but if there's something you'd like to say, you're welcome to. But you have to come up here. You know how it works, Mr. Principal.
We have I'll keep this pretty brief, but we have a large number of people in the community that have ATV of some kind, either an ATV or UV, the other, they're all four-wheelers, but mostly, probably by far the majority of the ones that are actually street able to drive on the streets with all the stuff that you need to have and so on, that the law says you have to have, are the mules. They're the ORUVs. They're like a little truck. In fact, this little truck that we have is better equipped than my big truck, and a lot safer. They have cages over them. Safety was a big factor that we looked at on this because it is important. And so while the committee for the county was looking at this, they decided that, we thought, well, let's just do the whole thing at once. And we thought, no, that's not a good idea. Let's do the county first, and then if it works out okay, and there's not a lot of stuff to worry about and things, people follow the rules and so on, then we go next to the city. And so that's what we did.
Okay.
And we have had this for about a year now, and in the county, we can ride on all of the county roads. There's 100 miles of blacktop and 600 miles of gravel, and we do that. And so far, there's only been one incident, and I can't tell you much detail about it, but I know the chief knows about it probably, and no one I don't think was seriously hurt, and he was actually, as I understand it, was not following the law anyway. And so it's been pretty good. And as I understand it, there's only been 29 people that have actually registered their vehicles. So there's not a whole lot of that, and most all those are all the ORUVs, the little truck type of things.
Okay.
I have a question for you. You know, you refer to your little truck RUV with a roll cage and all of that. A ATV, four-wheel drive vehicle is more configured like a motorcycle, doesn't have any roll cage or anything like that. Number one, the rural roads are already covered by a state statute that said that those types of vehicles run by farms can travel on the roadways. Are you asking that just the mules or side-by-sides, those kind of things be allowed to run, or are you talking about someone with a ATV, which is just a four-wheel motorcycle, be allowed?
Yeah, we're talking about both kinds. However, the ATVs, I don't, there probably are some, but I don't know of any that are equipped to drive on the streets right now.
Well, you can register them. You get a title for that vehicle, but there are requirements that you have to meet in order to get a license plate to put on a vehicle like that.
I don't think we can get a license because
Right.
I understand you can't get a
can't.
license plate because then you can ride on the state highways, and we don't want that. We're not looking at that. We're looking for just, county roads
so nobody would run Main Street up to downtown.
wherever the city limits are, yeah. And there's, I'll give you a
That's
good
state
example
highway,
is,
though.
good example is Knoxville.
Yeah,
They have one that was, their first one, it might still be that way, was just for the city. They didn't clear it for anything but the city. Others that we've looked at, we looked at about a dozen to 15, and they would do just the county. And some did both. And we spent a lot of time on it. Pat McAvan, I hope I pronounced that right. Pat did an excellent job of working with us on this. He made sure that we did it all legal-wise and so on. And it took us about 9 months. And we think that we took the best of all of these different ones. I talked to 12 or 13 of them myself, the people in charge in those communities. And they all had the same kind of concerns that we did, that here we have an opportunity to help some of our citizens in our community. We ought to take that opportunity, but make sure that they're safe and that sort of thing. And I don't know if you've had a chance to, probably haven't had a chance to look at the ordinance yet, but we've got some other, I've got a couple of paper on here that gives some example, or not examples, but some rationale. And we have in this community a lot of opportunities for people of all ages. And as I see this, and as our committee saw this is just one more opportunity. And because you can get in and out of them. You know, cars sometimes you gotta. They're
Now, is
pretty
there
low
an
ground, and trucks
age?
you gotta climb up in there. But these are just you just scoot in and they're there.
now these are, is there age restrictions as far as the ordinances that you're looking at?
Is there-
As far as
Age.
minimum age?
Oh yes.
Okay, nobody below 16, that
well,
kind of thing?
We talked about this a lot, and we settled on 18.
Okay,
And the reason that was that way was because an awful lot of the others were, and people felt like that at 18, maybe some of the kids' stuff was out of their system, and they would, drive more.
have you met my son, Ralph?
No,
He's
I mean,
gonna be 22 in December.
Yeah, well, there's always exceptions, but
Okay.
no,
Well-
and so they went with 18.
I'm just trying to get a feel
Yeah,
of
yeah.
what's
No,
going
and
on.
that's
you know,
fine. I think that's what we wanted.
Because you're going to hear a lot of wild ideas that some
Right.
16 or 18-year-old's going to be running their 500cc quad
Yeah,
up and down streets
well,
all times of the day and night.
yeah, well,
you know,
now,
so-
in the first place, the ordinance says sun up to sundown.
Oh, okay.
That's a limitation there.
So snowfall in the wintertime that happens after dark, you can't get on your mule to go out and
Well-
plow snow.
Let's not pin it totally down here, because we've got to use reason. Good.
Well, yeah, I know, but these are arguments that I'm going to hear somewhere at some point in time, and I haven't seen any ordinances on these. I haven't read the one that the county had. I do know that state laws governing farmers
Yeah.
allow them to do pretty much whatever they want with ATVs, mules, and that. And so it was just adding another level in with allowing others that aren't farmers to be able to use their ATVs
Exactly.
on the roadways.
Exactly.
So, then you equate that to in town and how that type of traffic would work in a more heavily concentrated area. But I'm digressing, so maybe
Yeah,
we should just move
We
on.
had concerns how many would do it, and other communities too. And when we looked at these, the most that had registered, and some of them had it for 2 years, was 100 people. And they were about our towns about our size, most of them.
Okay.
And they didn't have any serious problems with them. I never ran across one of the 12 or 13 that had serious
No, I
problems.
haven't heard of any
Yeah,
problems
and
with
so
them either. So.
they said, we're going to try it, and we're going to hold them just as accountable as if you're driving a car, which we should.
Mhm.
So, and we had we did this for interest more than anything else, petitions to see who had what and what kind of interest they had. And we had a good number. We had about 117 for the county and have about 100 for the city. Some of them are the same ones, of course, that just say, yes, we would like to have that opportunity. And we didn't bring them here. We're not going there. We're not going to overpower anybody, but we just want you to know that there are a number of people that really would like to do this. We think it's a real plus. We just do. I I can give you some personal stuff, but I'm not gonna here, but.
So, Chief, have you had the chance, have you had a chance to look at this, or what's your opinion?
Yes, Mr. Messerly happened to come with me. There are, we're kind of in the fact-finding stages. Mr. Messerly was good enough to get us a lot of the ordinances. I do know the concern before was with golf carts and ATVs were the parents sending their children because they didn't want to leave work to the pool on a golf cart because they're not old enough to drive. So we had 14, 15-year-olds operating golf carts on the roadway without a driver's license. So it would address a lot of this because this ordinance says only 18 and above can operate, whatever we want to add to it. And once we got past that, then the concerns, it's the same as a motorcycle. We have motorcycles every once in a while that will disobey the law, but 95% of the motorcycle riders obey the law. The only caution I have is to be totally transparent and forthcoming, and I've talked to Chairperson Anderson about this. We're now in the process of meeting with the attorneys. I have a meeting with Mr. Morrissey tomorrow to discuss any liability. We're looking at some of the ordinances, the other cities, and trying to pick and choose and getting a better idea for the public safety. So we've got a bunch of almost too much information for Mr. Messerly. He's become an excellent resource for me, but we're trying to plow through all that information we have now so we can get you guys some better answers. And the public, these are the positives, these are negatives.
Okay, thank you, Chief.
Thank you, sir.
So again, I mean, should it not go, and once they meet, come back and actually draft an
Well,
ordinance?
absolutely, yeah, I think this will.
Say, we're not at ordinance yet. We were just
Yeah,
looking
that's
for
all
any
we're doing at
major
this point,
objection.
This is sort of fact-finding at this
Yeah.
point.
Right.
We just wanted to make sure the council knew the direction we were headed, unless somebody here could convince us that we shouldn't move forward with the drafting of the ordinance. So,
That's fine.
Okay.
I think,
Yeah, I just would kind of finish by just saying, if you look at some other ordinances, then we certainly would encourage that. I assume you're gonna maybe have a committee of people to do, maybe you're the committee.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
we,
Yeah.
yeah,
And,
this council committee will do
Yeah.
that, and then it's just a matter of what kind of public feedback we get once it's
Sure.
put before the public and what their concerns might be and what
And I'm-
levels of
yeah.
support.
I would invite any of you, my neighbor, I'll pick you up in my little.
Well, I rode with my son in his Polaris that he brought back from California with him, which is a 1000cc model that we took down
So you know about.
out
yeah.
and down the gravel road out by the quarry here when he was back. So yeah, I've ridden and I know quite a little bit about him. It had a little pickup bed on the back of it, seats too, shoulder harnesses, roll cage, no windscreen kind of thing. So
They're just an excellent means of transportation for a certain group of people, and we would appreciate your,
Great,
we'll go back to committee and start working on the ordinance with
that'd be
you.
good, okay.
thank you for your input tonight, thanks very
Thank you a lot.
much.
Scott, do you want to come up? The cannon. The next item that the committee discussed was, I don't even know how to describe this thing. The high school boosters would like to shoot off a cannon during football games, which there are only 4 scheduled home football games during the season. What is it? I mean, it shoots blanks.
17-inch cannon, shoots a 10-gauge blank shotgun shell. Nothing's going to project out of the end of it. It's only going to be shot off when there's a touchdown, not the opposing team's touchdown, is what was brought up, but only our
Yes.
touchdowns.
And we hope they'll be alive.
Parents have just seen it in like
So you don't have to go to the game, you
Oskaloosa,
just listen for the
Knoxville.
cannon.
So the only thing I think you looked at was maybe noise ordinance, and with the music and everything that's going on there with the loudspeaker system, it's not really going to be anything.
They brought up that it's very similar to the guns that are used for track
Yep.
as far as
The
noise. So
starter's
we
gun.
couldn't find a reason not to let them proceed with it unless somebody here. And Chief Thomas doesn't consider it a firearm, so.
Correct.
2 people shooting them off. They'll be at the north end of the end zone or north end of the track on the football field in the end zone area, so away from everyone.
I think it's pretty standard unless after it takes place, there were some neighbors that had concern and came to us. I don't think there's anything that we need to do at this point.
So hopefully we'll be hearing that next Friday night.
Okay.
Right.
Is our
Great.
first football game. So we had two
Thank
other
you, Scott.
topics that were brought up to public safety, and we kind of one has been moved because we didn't have the appropriate information in front of us or enough information that night to discuss. The other one was just whether there's interest or need for a curfew in Fairfield, and this came to the agenda when I had asked Chief Thomas if we had a curfew, as somebody was inquiring to me, and I didn't know the answer to that. And when he said we don't, but we really could use one, then he presented the reasons to consider to the committee. And again, we're not ready to take action on it, but looking for feedback from the council on whether has there been a curfew. Is it something we're interested in pursuing? Again, we'd be looking at other communities, trying to figure out what ages are restricted by it, times to, days of the week, things like that. But is this a direction that the council would like public safety to pursue?
Personally, no.
Okay.
I don't
I'm not a fan of
feel that
either.
there's any need within the community is glaring. I think you're only inviting, a lot of concern and debate.
Well, the chief had some good points in favor of it, if you want to say.
This was actually initiated by citizens because of the recent crime waves we've had. And when I say crime waves, it's once again, a very small percentage of the population we deal with. But when there's a lot of damage and it's a small group of course, juveniles, or we wouldn't be talking about a curfew. A lot of citizens that were victims asked the same question, especially because of the time that it occurred. It wasn't 11 o'clock at night, it was 3 or 4 in the morning. Asked why those juveniles were allowed out, and that why the police department wasn't enforcing the curfew. We explained to them that we didn't have a curfew that we could enforce. We discussed, I'll say it over and over, but I have kids in the school. I know most of the kids, and almost all the kids have caring parents that they don't have their kids out at 3 or 4 in the morning, or if they're out at that time, there's a legitimate reason. The police may ask why they're out, but if they're going home from work or going home from a baseball game, obviously that isn't a curfew violation that we would enforce. It's for the small percentage of the population that the parents are not sure where the kids are at. And then that gives us an added authority to not only address why the kids are out, but also with the parents. To call the parents in and explain we do have a curfew and the child can't be out. But there are concerns too. Police officers are trained from very soon that we are the government, we represent the government, and everybody's free to move around. So it's very tough because we have parents that want us, or victims that want us to reach out and have a curfew to protect their property from being damaged in the middle of the night. Plus, we have a group that it would give us more authority to approach kids at 2 or 3 or 4 in the morning and at least ask them, what are you doing out? And if there's a violation, then bring them in. And then the officer still has the discretion to decide, are they going to cite them into juvenile court? Are they going to cite the parents if that's part of the ordinance? So there's a lot of, it gives us more authority to talk to those kids. Our officers know who those kids are. They're usually the number one suspects when we have these criminal mischiefs or windows broken and cars damaged. But there's nothing the officers can do other than stop and talk to them. And a lot of times the kids will refuse to even answer questions. So it's not, I will be honest with you, it's not an easy decision. It's not an easy decision for me. I'm not going to be upset. And that's what the police officer said too. If we decide not to do this, we're trying to address these last couple of summers. We've had a lot of issues with criminal mischief.
Well, if you want opinions, my opinion is that's a parent-child issue, not a city-child issue. We had a curfew in my hometown in Ohio that I broke all the time and very rarely got caught, but I wasn't breaking the law. I was breaking the law by being out, but I wasn't breaking the law otherwise. It created a thrill to be out late that maybe I wouldn't have done otherwise, because I was out knowing I wasn't supposed to be. Me and my friends would run and try to hide from the cops. So was it wasting the cops' time? Probably. I know when I got picked up the few times that I wasn't very good at escaping, I was taken home and my parents awoken. So you said bring them in. Are you saying that if the children were passed out past curfew, they'd be taken to the police station?
Usually it's just a better location to meet the parents instead of running children home, and the parents usually will come to the police department. I won't say that we won't run kids home, but usually the police department is a nice neutral place to meet parents.
Not sure we have the need.
Okay. So we'll discuss it again at our next public safety and decide whether to continue down that path.
Thank you.
That's it for public safety's meeting number 1.
Because the wayfinding committee, I don't believe there's a report that any of us have prepared who were at the meeting. I think it's on here because it did take place. So the initial meeting of that committee, they did get together and discussed the report by the Iowa Architects Foundation and some of the priorities for a couple of the projects. They'll meet again in another week and potentially have a little bit more to report. Terry Baker was named chairperson of that, so we're going to have Terry here to report on that the next time. Next council, I've asked our city administrator, Mike Harmon, who is attending his last meeting with us, to prepare a report for what he's accomplished in the little over 3 years that he's been here. And I think there's really a lot to really celebrate in what Mike has done in a very short period of time. You know, his first responsibility is to the group here this evening that made the decision to hire him. We were very excited at the time to bring back home someone who was born and raised in Fairfield and have them connected to moving our community forward. And I know that it's been a great and rewarding experience for Mike being able to do that. But he's very much a part of our team, and even though he does respond and work for all of us, I think we all recognize in Mike that ability to not only respond to the needs of leadership, but also take leadership himself. And he's done an extraordinary job in that with all of our department heads, with the citizens of the city, and managing a number of very high-profile projects within the city, managing the finances in some very significant crossroads for us. It's been a wonderful, wonderful time having you as our city administrator, Mike. We really wish you all the best in your future, and we know that there'll continue to be a connection because your family is here, and we're all talking about going to South Dakota now. So anyway, please, Mike, if you would give us your final report as city administrator.
Thank you for the kind words, Mayor. I appreciate it. I sort of took a David Letterman approach to this, a top 10 list of things that I'm most proud of. So in no particular order except for the first one, I'll know. One is updated major policies to include our financial policy and our personnel policy. The next one is hiring a city engineer. The number 8 is moving our bond rating up 4 notches in a very short period of time. That was a huge accomplishment for the city, and it also allowed us to do one of the later things that I'll talk about. Being part of the DOT commission presentation with our mayor and city engineer to bring that roundabout and 3-lane highway to Fairfield was a very neat project. Completion of several capital improvement projects to include, the airport, the outdoor pool, the Cambridge Sportsplex, addition to step 1, and we're about to finish the downtown facade. For the first time in 7 years, we've had 3 years of positive cash surplus, which has led to a savings account, which I'll get to in a second. The refinance, by moving our bond rating up 4 notches, we saved $285,000 of taxpayer money by going to a lower interest rate with that particular bond. That allowed us to lower our tax levy and eliminate the emergency tax levy, which hasn't been done in quite some time. Second is the work that we've completed with USDA to bring in the grants and the low interest loans to move our rates from 40% down to 10%. That's a huge accomplishment for the taxpayers and the ratepayers and what I feel are our customers, and I'm very proud of that. But the thing that I'm most proud of happened actually this week, and Daryl doesn't know I'm going to talk about him, but I am. I was able to be part of a very high functioning team. Daryl came into my office last week and he said, Mike, we've had water leaks all over the city. Our crew's sort of caught up for a second. We're gonna go help the water department. We're gonna fix the street patches that they've cut out. We're just gonna do that on our own. Wasn't something I asked Daryl to do. It's not something that Steve asked Daryl to do. It's something he did because he was a part of a team and he recognized the need. And I got to serve with some very, very fine people, and that I'm most proud of, including the people sitting at this table. So thank you very much for the opportunity, and I wish you the very best moving forward.
Thank you, Mike. Couldn't have illustrated your leadership qualities better. We really do appreciate that. And we hope that we're fortunate enough to bring the next person on to fill those shoes and to continue the great progress our city has made. And I know that's important to you also. And if we need you, we'll be calling for a couple months here. So
I'll give you my card.
Great. Thank you. Okay. Also, Council, I want to bring your attention to an open house that we'll be having for Mike. So this is open to the public and anyone who's worked with Mike on all of these various projects within the city. That'll take place this coming Thursday from 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. here at City Hall. We do have some business in closed session tonight, so at this time I would entertain a motion to go into closed session and ask that the chambers be cleared.
So moved.
By
Mayor,
Anderson.
may I
Yes.
ask about the Personnel Committee report?
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. Go ahead, Michael.
We covered the one item, which was, we had one agenda item, so it's very brief, and that was interviewing for the city clerk position. Joy Meser is retiring in October, and so we wanted to get someone lined up soon. We had 4 total applicants, 2 qualified. We interviewed both very qualified, both with really good experience in the city. I think really what stood apart for Rebecca Loper was her commitment to completing the clerk training that she started years ago and stepping up to do functions that weren't within her job description, such as filling in for Joy here at City Hall when Joy can't make it to a council meeting. So she just showed that initiative and that ambition, I think is a word she used about herself. It was apparent, and so we made that call to hire Rebecca Loper. She will begin September 4th, not the 4th.
That's correct.
It is the 4th, okay.
The 5th.
The 5th,
Yep.
yeah. So the 4th is Labor
After
Day.
the holiday.
So we are starting her a little earlier. Yep,
Overlap
yep,
that I
yep.
was asking
Yep,
about.
so Darren was talking about that, and Mike agreed with you on that one. So there'll be some overlap so that Joy can download 27 years of experience. 37. Sorry. 37 years of experience into Rebecca's brain. We'll see if it works. But yeah, so anything else, fellas?
So now we have another city position to fill.
Exactly. So we'll be hiring for Rebecca's position next, as on and goes.
All right, thank you. I apologize, I missed that, skipped that on the menu. Saw the P and I thought we're still on public safety, but appreciate
Did
that.
feel like it.
So entertain a motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
Moved by Anderson,
Second.
second by Hamilton. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same sign. Thank you.